This next part involves a connector. At this point, if you've already bought a spare connector, you can take it and put it on and put it back together. If you don't have one, then this next step's for you. Also, if you replace it, you may want to keep your old one just so you can recondition it as well. This is what the flathead screwdriver is for. Now it's hard to see. These individual pins are recessed into there. And to show you what it's supposed to look like, and I'm going to try to hold this steady, but you want to try to slip that screwdriver, this flathead screwdriver, underneath and twist and pop the pin back up. Now you see the difference between this pin and the rest of them? And what you want to do, all 72 pins, get in there and twist every one of them until they're standing up. Now this will take a while, but it gives you a spare connector, something else to work with. And if you feel like it, you can actually take this screwdriver and that cloth and push into each and every one of these grooves and get the corrosion off the pins. You'll do that and you pretty much reconditioned your old connector. But if you already got a spare one, then hey, go ahead and do it to your old one so you got a backup. Now that you've reconditioned or got your new connector ready, let's reassemble our Nintendo. First you want to reattach your connector. You notice on the bottom of the board that there are several chips. You'll want to put this top connector right here, where half the pins are missing, are on top. Like that. Just slide it on, okay? And if you notice, just so for clarification, the side with just one pin is the one your cartridges touch. The one with both pins actually goes on the board itself. Your next step is to attach this back plating to the NES. Make sure you don't pinch any wires when you do this. Once that's on, reconnect your power and your other joystick port. Remember the other joystick port I didn't tell you to unplug? Well, that's why, so you don't get them mixed up. Next up, place the NES back into the case. Make sure all the holes line back up. Next step is to put that one screw back in right there. That will hold the board in place. Now that that's done, you want to take your carrier and put it back on. And again, it slides that way. Don't try to just plop on top of it, but you actually want to slide it in at that direction. Now you'll want to reattach this. Remember those two goofy screws, those two silver ones? You want to put those right there and right there. The second hole from the top. Now those two screws are in, you want to take those four screws, those four standard ones, and put in the remaining holes. There, and the two on the other side. At this point, you'll probably want to take a spare Nintendo cartridge and test to make sure that your game fits. The reason this is because putting this part on is actually probably one of the more crucial parts. You'll make sure that it fits nice and there's no snugs or taps or anything like that. If there is, you may want to loosen these screws and adjust accordingly until the game slides in and out easily. Mind you, when you replace this connector, the games will fit tight. That's normal. That's actually what you want. But what you don't want is when you put it in for anything to bend when you push this plate down. Again, just make sure it slides in and pushes down without any problems. Pulling it out, yeah, you're going to have a little bit of an issue. because it's really tight. But once that fits, move on. Your next step is to put the top shielding back on the NES. And then put your 8 screws back in. Your next and final step is to put the top on the system, flip it over, and put the remaining 6 screws in. Now, a few notes. If you have trouble getting things to fit back together, one word to the wise: stay calm. Take your time, take the pieces back apart, and loosen screws and adjust so that things fit back together. This is an old piece of equipment that sat for a very long time. Not to mention it was assembled in a factory, never meant to really be taken apart again for maintenance. So be very ginger and careful when taking things apart so you don't cut any wires or damage any of the equipment. Hope this has helped. Tune in again for more helpful tips.